Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Steinauer, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, which is Syntonics. However, today I'm going to talk to you about, is there a downside to Syntonics? Uh-oh. All right, well, stay tuned. But first, let me tell you about how you can connect with us. If you're local, call us at 618-288-1489. If you're not local, go to our website at visionforlifeworks.com. You've got two options. You can either click on the questionnaire, fill out some details, and then once you enter in your email, you're going to get feedback as to how things are going with your vision. Or you can click on the schedule a consultation if you just want to schedule time to talk with me directly and you're interested and ready to take that next step to improve your vision. Now, let's go back and talk about Syntonics and how there can be, every now and then, a downside. All right, I know that picture is going to be a thumbnail, by the way. Just wait and see. Okay, so let's talk Syntonics. And you know I love these. I have tons of filters. In fact, I have a whole box with all kinds of filters. Pick a color, any color. I have lots. Just about every color you can think of. Red, blue, orange, yellow, green, purple. What didn't I say? Every color of the rainbow and then some, right? Everything in between. Now, the only problem with Syntonics is that it actually is super powerful. What we are doing with Syntonics is we are electrically reprogramming the brain for better vision. So we are kind of increasing specific electrical connections in the brain. They have an output for the entire body. So it's not just that we're kind of like, what are we doing? We're just triggering the brain. Okay, great. Right, what does that do, right? It's almost like hooking up electrodes to the brain and saying we want a certain response. So let's hook up an electrode here for this particular response. Except in Syntonics, it's kind of like all over the brain, but certain filters will trigger specific areas, and certain filters will also trigger specific muscles of the eyes. Now, because Syntonics is super powerful, it's like a direct link, like let's hook up the electrodes and zap it. Because it's a fast response, sometimes within seconds people notice something, sometimes it's days. But some people, again, it's seconds and really, really fast. Things are kind of going on, you know, underneath, behind the scenes, right? You can't see them, maybe you can't even feel them, but they are occurring all the time with Syntonics. So what if you're using it in a way that you get a negative response? Well, I'm here to tell you that negative responses do sometimes occur with Syntonics, and not that I want to say it's normal, but it does happen. You have to be really careful. You have to kind of know what you're doing, but you are triggering a lot of things within the brain. First and foremost, for what I do for my office is that we have a very specific kind of methodology. It's actually a whole program that I specifically designed for Syntonics, and you know, other doctors actually purchase the program to be able to learn how to use what we do for their offices. So it's a very specific program with a specified pattern of use for the Syntonics filters. So often what I find out is that patients who come to consult with us or come to our clinic and connect with us and they're doing Syntonics from another clinic, oftentimes they're like, well, I'm only doing like this red-green filter. Like, here's a red one, here's a green one. Well, how long have you been doing that one? 8 months. That's all you've done is just red and green, is kind of my question and my response. And the reason why my program is a little bit different, or our program here at Vision for Life and Success is a little bit different, is that what we're looking for is we want to actually create a sequence of events in the brain. The first sequence of events that we want to have happen is we want to kind of heal the brain. You know, I don't know if you've had a head injury. We'll determine that. I don't know if you've had some sort of stroke or other type of trauma. We'll determine that. But maybe a head injury is something that we don't typically think of. It could be as simple as like you fell and slipped on the ice and bonked the back of your head. Or it could be something like, you know, you had maybe a problem with, like, you got introduced to a lot of mold. Or maybe you even had some sort of neurological something or else happen to you that occurred and affected you in a lot of different systems in your body. Well, that's actually in a form a traumatic event or a type of traumatic brain injury. And so we want to kind of heal the brain from those things. Phase 2 is about balancing the core autonomic nervous system, which is kind of a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. And those things have to stay in flux and balance with one another. You don't really want those to be out of balance a lot, because it causes a lot of problems. If someone is sympathetically driven, you know, they have lots of anxiety, they're anxious, and they don't sleep, they may, you know, have a really hard time like winding down. They may feel really anxious, like needing to be on some sort of medication to help them. So we want to balance that system in like the second set of things or second phase of things that we do with Syntonics. The third component of Syntonics, or the next step in it, is really more about kind of overall balancing the whole brain between the right and the left hemisphere, because it controls the right brain controls the left eye, and the left brain controls the right eye. So we want to balance those out in order to help someone be binocular. The next phase then goes to specific muscles that we're triggering, which are the muscles that kind of control the up and down movement of the eyes. And by the way, throughout the whole thing, everything that I've said is these different steps, we're also controlling and kind of rebalancing the lateral alignment or horizontal alignment of the eyes. So that's happening in all of those phases. The last phase is kind of like core, like bring us back down to basic things that we're trying to do for you vision-wise. And if there's other things, maybe, you know, maybe there's something like, maybe there is the high anxiety, maybe there is some other condition that needs to be addressed in there. We might intersperse a different filter in there in order to address that for you specifically. So a program for Syntonics is not really meant to be like, let's just see, can I find it? I got two filters. I got a red one and I got a green one. And that's all the doctor told me to do for like 8 months. Is actually really meant to be a lot more specific and highly specialized to, again, heal the brain, balance the neurological system, balance the two hemispheres of the brain, and then taking us through a process of balancing out some stuff with the muscles of the eyes. That also kind of happens all along the whole way. So there's a lot of specific things with Syntonics that if you're not doing that, you're kind of missing the boat. And as a result, if someone's been on like red and green the whole time, they may end up feeling anxious, nervous, not comfortable. They might end up just kind of having some feelings of like, something's just not right. I'm kind of like I'm on edge. And that's really because you've stimulated the nervous system in a way that you've gone past it being beneficial, and now you're just annoying it. You know, I like to use the example of, think about the, you know, if you're a mom or a dad, think about whenever your kid's like, Mom, you know, and they just kind of like rub and pet your arm, and at first you're like, oh, it's so nice, thank you. And after a little bit, you're like, okay, kind of getting annoyed. And then after a little bit, you're like, okay, I'm really annoyed. Stop that. It actually kind of hurts, because the nerve endings in your skin, if they kind of just constantly get grated on, they might become sensitive. Well, the brain is similar. If you're constantly kind of triggering something in the brain, like with a red filter, after a while, all of that, I'm getting lots of thumbnail pictures throughout this. There could be so many that could be chosen. Okay, so throughout that kind of like stimulation with that red filter on the brain, you know, eventually that can cause some anxiety, and it can trip us into an area that we really don't want to be in. Now, the good news is you can typically kind of reverse that pretty quickly by just going off of the filter and letting the brain relax and kind of like even itself out after a few days. But if that's you, if you're like, man, I've been on the same filters for 8 months and I'm not so sure, you know, there's actually a lot more Syntonics than just using 1 or 2 filters. And so for more information about what we do and how we do things quite a bit differently, again, you can call us if you're local at 618-288-1489. If you're not local, go to our website at visionforlifeworks.com, and you have 2 choices. You can either schedule a consultation. We'll talk about it directly, what I would do differently to help you in your case or situation. Or if you're not really at that point quite yet and you want to toe step into the water a little bit slower, then what you can do is fill out the questionnaire, and you'll have to input your email address in order to get your results, but you'll get some results back that tell you about your vision. Now, if you like this video, like it, subscribe to our channel so you get all notifications, and pass it on if you feel like it would be beneficial. Thank you.